You sent the message 3 hours ago. You've checked your phone 11 times since then. Nothing. And somewhere deep in your chest, not your heart, not your brain, something tightens. Something that feels almost like panic. You tell yourself it's nothing. You tell yourself you're fine. But what if that feeling isn't weakness? What if it's ancient? What if the anxiety you feel when you're ignored, when you're left out, when the room goes quiet and no one calls your name, is not a personal flaw, but a survival alarm that's been running inside human beings for 300,000 years? To understand why loneliness hits the way it does, you have to go back. Not a few decades, not a few centuries. You have to go back to a world with no walls, no locks, no numbers in your phone to call. Roughly 300,000 years ago, early Homo sapiens lived in small nomadic groups, typically between 20 and 50 individuals. These weren't families in the modern sense. They were survival units. Every person in that group had a function, a role, a reason to exist within the collective. There was the one who tracked animals, the one who knew which plants were safe, the one who could stitch a wound, the one whose voice calmed the children when predators circled in the dark. And then imagine being none of those things. Imagine the group deciding they could no longer carry you. Imagine being left behind. In that world, exclusion was not a social discomfort. It was a death sentence. Alone on the open savanna, a single human had almost no realistic chance of survival. No claws, no venom, no speed. The human body was not built to fight the ancient world alone. It was built to cooperate or die. Here is where it gets fascinating and a little unsettling, because your brain, the brain you are using right now to process these words, never got the update. It still runs the same core operating system as the person sitting by that fire 300,000 years ago. And that operating system has one non-negotiable priority: do not get left behind. Neuroscientists discovered something remarkable when they studied what happens inside the brain during social rejection. When a person is excluded, even in a simple controlled experiment, the brain activates the same neural regions that fire during physical pain. Not similar ones, the same ones. Your brain genuinely cannot distinguish between the pain of a broken bone and the pain of being left out of a conversation. To your nervous system, both are emergencies. Both trigger the alarm. Because for 99% of human evolutionary history, they were the same emergency. But it goes deeper than pain, much deeper. Researchers studying isolated individuals, people placed in genuine long-term solitude, found that the human brain begins to deteriorate in measurable ways after prolonged isolation. Cognitive function drops, decision-making weakens, and remarkably, the brain starts generating phantom social signals, sounds that aren't there, voices at the edge of perception, the feeling of a presence in an empty room. Your brain would rather hallucinate company than accept that you are truly alone. That is not madness. That is desperation. The desperation of a 300,000-year-old survival system screaming, "Find your people, find them now." There is a concept researchers call social pain theory. The idea that the human capacity to feel social pain evolved as a biological enforcement mechanism. Pain makes you stop touching fire. Social pain makes you stop behaviors that risk exclusion. It kept your ancestors inside the group, inside the circle of firelight, alive. And ostracism, deliberate exclusion, was used as a weapon long before any civilization invented prisons. Ancient Greek democracy had a practice called ostracism, where citizens could vote to exile a person from the city for 10 years. No trial, no crime needed, just removal. The ancient Greeks understood intuitively what neuroscience would later confirm. Banishment was a punishment powerful enough to break a person without laying a hand on them. Even in early hunter-gatherer bands, anthropologists found evidence of deliberate social exclusion as punishment. Cutting a member off from communal food, from shelter decisions, from the protection of the group. Not violence, just silence, just absence. And it worked because the body experienced it as violence. The tribe was not a preference, it was oxygen. So what does any of this mean for you, living in a world where you are technically never more than a few taps away from another human being? It means the epidemic of loneliness that researchers have been documenting for the past 2 decades is not a lifestyle problem. It is not about screen time or social media or any of the easy explanations. It is a biological crisis, a mismatch between the environment your brain was built for, 20 to 50 people who knew your name, who needed you, who noticed when you weren't there, and the environment you actually inhabit today. Former U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy declared loneliness a public health epidemic in 2023, citing research that chronic loneliness carries health risks comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The body treats sustained social isolation as a threat because it always was. You were never designed to be unknown. You were never designed to move through a crowd of strangers who will never learn your name. Every part of your nervous system was calibrated for a world where someone always knew where you were, because your survival depended on it. That tightness in your chest when your phone stays silent is not a character flaw. It is not immaturity or neediness or weakness. It is an ancient alarm, 300,000 years old, still doing exactly what it was designed to do. Warning you, protecting you, reminding you that to your brain, connection is not a comfort. It is a biological requirement as real as water or air. The world changed. The brain did not. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. Carrying all of this ancient wiring inside a body that just wants to feel like it belongs somewhere, like it matters to someone, like if it disappeared tomorrow, someone would notice. Here is the question I want to leave you with. In a world where we have never been more connected on paper, why do so many people feel more invisible than ever before? And what does that tell us about what human beings actually need to survive? Think about that. And if this video made you feel something, leave it in the comments. Because somewhere out there, someone else is reading your words and feeling a little less alone because of it.